Okay, so now we are ready to proceed to our third speaker. No, sorry, our fourth speaker. Our fourth speaker is Mr. Raul Socrates Banzuela, who will talk about the SSE practice of PAKISAMA. So Raul Socrates Banzuela is a community organizer by profession. He has been involved in helping set up, manage, and lead a number of social, environmental, political, economic, cultural, and professional movements and institutions, and in waging direct action campaigns in pursuit of asset reforms and good governance in the Philippines, spanning 37 years. He has been the national coordinator for the past 13 years of PAKISAMA, a recipient civil society organization in 2015 of the ASEAN Rural Leadership Award, and a finalist of the 2015 Global Award of the International Land Coalition. Schooled in Ateneo de Manila and the Asian Institute of Management, he did direct community organizing or CO work, supervised and conducted organizational development of 9 civil society organizations, lectured in 3 universities, joined various national and international conferences and 2 fellowships, and authored a number of articles, including a book on social entrepreneurship. So it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Raul Socrates C. Banzuela. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for that generous introduction. So I was asked to present the PAKISAMA. Well, with particular emphasis perhaps in the last 2 to 3 months during this pandemic. You know, so PAKISAMA is a national confederation of family farmer organizations, 35 member farmers, fishers, indigenous peoples, rural youth, and women associations and cooperatives, which I represent in this conversation. Is the slide there already? Are you presenting the slide? Hello?
Chandra,
Chandra,
please share the slide.
are you ready to share the slide? Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
First slide, please. The second slide.
Next slide.
Go ahead. Yeah, so that's our organization. We have 74,000 family farmer members in 40 provinces. And next slide, please. Family farmers, which include the small fishers, indigenous peoples, rural youth, and women, have adapted themselves and came up with some coping mechanisms while on COVID-19 lockdown. First, they're increasing production and diversifying their farming systems. Even with some limits of curfews, most farmers in our network did what they need to do. Plant, plant, plant. Here in this slide are members of Banasi Farmers Organization in Bula, Camarines Sur. They got vegetable seeds from the Department of Agriculture, and now they are diversifying their monocrop rice farms to include vegetables and started a gulayan or vegetables to community project. Next, please. Next slide, please. Here you see Panaw Sumilaw Multipurpose Cooperative in Bukidnon. The farmers who marched 1,000 kilometers to fight and finally won their 144-hectare ancestral land are producing and selling to their own members their own organic fertilizers. Next, please. Next slide. They are also producing seedlings of moringa, which they thought strengthened their immune system against COVID-19. Next slide, please. Second coping mechanism. Next slide, please. Farmers are engaging in value addition, exploring local market. In this slide, we see members of Patanum Agro-Cooperative Rotac Viejo, Iloilo, transitioned from conventional organic rice, milled and packaged them, and are now selling them with the help of social media to consumers within their municipality. Next slide, please. Women farmers, next slide, please. Women farmers in Bulan, Sorsogon have started their own vegetable stores, selling vegetables directly to their neighbors, the community. Next slide, please. Next slide. Here we see a number one agri-cooperative in the country, the Lamak Multipurpose Cooperative in Pinamalayan, Cebu, partnering with the Department of Agriculture in its marketing program. Third, cooperatives are engaged in providing relief, especially to their own highly affected members. Next slide, please. In this slide, we see Oro Integrated Cooperative. Next slide, please. A billionaire cooperative with more than 100,000 members, shelling off 300 pesos per member subsidy. Also, Lamak Multipurpose Cooperative, aside from giving rice, has also donated dairy products to their members. Fourth, leaders of farmers and fishers organizations are directly conversing with their members to give them information and inspired. Next slide, please. The main message is that we are frontliners too, and we need to do our mission of ensuring there is sufficient food in the country. In this slide, we see Robert Balyon, leader of COMAS, a Provincial Federation of Municipal Fisher Associations, Zamboanga, Sibugay, has been engaging the past couple of months in relief operation, continuous development of their aquaculture farm, and uploading this poster to inspire farmers and fishers in the country. Next slide, please. Finally, various farmers' federations in the country have banded together and form a broad coalition called Bayans Agricultural Ban sa COVID-19. They have been holding webinars among themselves, invited resource persons to exchange their respective initiatives. In this slide, we see the third webinar panelists. Here, the coalition is engaging government leaders in the executive and legislative branches on critical policy issues such as trade, fate of agriculture workers, land conversion budget, and participatory mechanisms such as the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries, and programs such as Sagip-Saka, or government purchase of family farmers' products and rice self-sufficiency. One of the outputs of this engagement was the commitment among stakeholders to meet more regularly to discuss partnerships in implementing various agriculture fishery programs. Next slide, please. These are just among the key coping mechanisms farmers and their cooperatives organizations have been engaged over almost 3 months of COVID-19 lockdown. But I want to highlight the experience of our confederation, PAKISAMA, with one women-led indigenous peoples organizations called Kababayan sa Sierra Madre Agroforestry Cooperative. Next slide, please. Indigenous people, particularly the Dumagat Remontados hailing in Sierra Madre near the National Capital Region, have been recipients of relief operations of the church and NGOs during the lockdown period. Rice, noodles, and canned goods have been the foodstuffs delivered to them. But the Dumagats, in particular the members and leaders of Kababayang Dumagat ng Sierra Madre, were thinking differently. While they appreciate this kind of support, they thought it is more strategic that they're able to sell their various products direct to the consumers. They believe that they could get better prices for their farmer member produce if they are able to sell direct to consumers than to their traditional local traders. Kagat was organized as an agroforestry cooperative in November 2019 to cover initially 5 municipalities in Quezon, Rizal, and Bulacan. It has been assisted by non-timber forest products and several other institutions involved in the campaign to stop the mega dam project of the Duterte administration. The first project to engage directly the consumers was the farmers market. Can you, now here Kagat made 10 rounds of weekend farmers market at the De La Costa Homes, a local social housing project in Barangka Marikina. The Homeowners Association made available its covered basketball court as venue and mobilized staff to inform the community. Some 500 homeowners from the place and neighboring communities came to buy some 40 varieties of fresh and more affordable fruits, vegetables, and root crops. Next next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in this slide, you see the farmers market. It has 10 rounds already. That's 2.5 months already every weekend. And you see the partnership here of homeowner association, and then the cooperative providing all the products, and then the consumers are happy that they have available products in their community. This, after this experiment here in De La Costa, we were asked by the Department of Agriculture to also go to Manila. So now we are starting farmers market in Tondo and in Sampaloc. And 3 other resettlement areas are being organized right now as farmers markets. Now, the second initiative, this Indigenous Peoples Cooperative went into a pack delivery for a relief operation project of the De La Salle brothers, benefiting 1,233 urban poor families living at North Cemetery and Montalban Resettlement Community. They prepared a 16 variety anti-COVID dumagat food packs to allow the recipients to cook more nutritious laing, sinigang, and pakbet and prepare cucumber salad. With some earnings, Kagat prepared 100 packs also for their own most vulnerable member, Indigenous people families who lost income from the community tourism business affected by the lockdown. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So here you see their food pack distribution business. And here, this is the third initiative. The group engaged in catering to middle-class families who do not want to leave their homes, mostly members of civil society, NGO workers. In partnership with the Murang Gulay Shop, motorcycle riders, and PAKISAMA social media staff, they undertook this online home delivery food pack service catering to 75 families. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. What has been the result so far? Kagat was happy to report that they were able to help 100 of their fellow dumagats to increase by 25% on average the price of their products, mostly root crops, vegetables, and fruits. They were also able to lower by at least 5% the retail price of vegetable, root crops, and fruits sold to their consumers. They were happy to contribute to supplying more nutritious food packs to poor families. As a young cooperative, they noted their members who paid their 2,500 capital share, this is in pesos, increased from 4 to 9. Their capital increased from 10,000 to 79,000 pesos, or 250 US dollars to 1,600 US dollars, with net income of 1,340 US dollars in a 2-month-long operation. They created jobs for some 20 sorters, drivers, marketers. Most importantly, they felt able to expand their contacts and broaden their partners with different sectors and increase solidarity among their own members with consumers. Next slide, please. This is slide where this is also the day. Cooperative handed me an $80 or 4,000 peso service fee for my 2-week intense operation support. Now, next slide, please. The current practice Yeah, the current practice strives to achieve the 5 dimensions of SSE, socially responsible, where farmers themselves govern, live by the core cooperative values such as social justice and inclusion, prioritizing more marginalized indigenous women and youth, but benefits are shared with the people or community while at the same time protecting shareable forest and economic sustainability by taking business seriously. But they are just starting and face several challenges and committed mistakes. Realize the need to expand their sources of food products so they can respond to the quantity requirements, um, and also uh, uh, the quality requirements of consumers. They also need to put in place stricter internal quality control so consumers don't end up getting immaturely picked or mishandled fruits, good at the outside but rotten in the inside. They need to deliver their products to consumers on time, 100% of the time. Next slide, please. They realize this requires strengthening their governance, management, and membership education programs, which would require human and financial resources. They're now thinking of hiring full-time manager, finance officer, and marketing officer. We also realize that it will be more convenient to family farmer cooperatives if they have a counterpart food consumer cooperatives whom they can just relate with, who will organize the farmers market themselves or the physical or online home delivery service. Currently, negotiations are being done to see the possibility for local savings and loan cooperatives in the community to take on this role. Next slide. But the producers and consumers cooperatives will have to undertake continuous organizational development, complete and expand their membership services, and build strong partnerships if they intend to be sustainable institutions. Next slide, please. Perhaps the key takeaway or lesson from the 2-month experience that we should not underestimate the power of bayanihan or cooperation among producers, among consumers, and among both producers and consumers. But bayanihan has to be organized. We need to invest in community organizing. Next slide, please. In conclusion, food and nutrition security amidst pandemic and beyond is possible. We have the basic tool to do it. We call it in Filipino bayanihan, in English cooperation. We make our farmers heroes and treat them as such to do their noble mission of our food, patronizing their products and helping them to build their organizations, their cooperatives, to ensure they deliver enough quality food products timely and regularly. But we can only do it if we as consumers are organized ourselves as food consumers cooperatives, directly sourcing our food from local agri-cooperatives. We hope the thousands of credit cooperatives and homeowners associations in the country will take on this role. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you very much to Mr. Soc Banzuela for that very uplifting discussion, because we can do it if we want to, and it is already being done, but we also at the same time recognize that it is not easy. Okay.